At the beginning of the story, we learn that the life of a former Marine named Rory has completely fallen apart over the past year. After getting divorced from his wife, he is emotionally shattered and slowly begins sinking into depression. A psychiatrist named Rivera is talking with him, and as she listens to his responses, she starts suspecting that Rory may be having thoughts of ending his own life. However, Rory calmly assures her that nothing like that is going to happen today. He avoids revealing the real reason behind his troubled state and quickly changes the subject, bringing the conversation to an end. Sometime later, Rory arrives at a hall located near the shoreline because he has been hired for a side job. As soon as he enters, he notices an unfamiliar man sitting there. Shortly afterward, the person who summoned them both arrives. His name is Bazguy, a powerful gang boss who controls much of the area. Bazguy seems pleased to see Rory. However, his attitude becomes noticeably colder when he looks at the other man. That man is an ex-convict named Cabby, who has only recently been released from prison. Since the upcoming job is extremely important, Bazguy reluctantly agrees to let them work together. He then pulls out a blueprint of a building and begins explaining the plan. According to him, the final round of the Boston mayoral election will take place 1 week later. He is convinced that the corrupt mayor, Mitchell, will win the election once again and defeat the Chinese candidate, allowing him to maintain his influence and power. Bazguy explains that after the victory, Mitchell will host a massive celebration party where millions of dollars of illegal money will be circulated. Entry tickets alone will cost up to $500. He also reveals that all of the money collected during the event will remain inside the hotel until the following morning, after which it will be loaded into trucks and moved elsewhere. That is why he plans to send his man, Scalvo, along with Rory and Cabby. Their mission will be to sneak into the hotel at night and steal all of the money. Bazguy promises that after the job is completed, each participant will receive a large payout, and if they manage to get their hands on more money than expected, everything will be divided equally among them. As soon as he hears this, Rory clearly states his terms. He says that he does not want a share of the stolen money. Instead, he wants exactly 32,480s and nothing more. Bazguy is not pleased with this demand because the amount Rory is asking for is greater than what the others will receive. However, Rory refuses to negotiate. He immediately stands up and begins walking away. Bazguy understands that Rory is a former Marine and that finding someone with his skills will not be easy. After thinking it over for a while, he finally agrees to Rory's demand. Once that is settled, Bazguy explains the entire route, entry points, and combat strategy for the mission. He assures everyone that this will be their final job together. After it is over, each of them will go their separate ways and never work together again. Throughout the following week, Bazguy's men repeatedly go over every detail of the robbery with Rory and Cabby. However, Cabby struggles to pay attention most of the time. The three men also make several trips around the hotel, carefully studying the area so that no mistakes are made when the operation begins. Eventually, election night arrives. Following the plan, the three men travel by boat through the waterways and head directly toward the hotel where the celebration is taking place. They are supposed to enter through the kitchen and make their way to Mayor Mitchell's office. However, the moment they get inside, they realize that nothing is going according to plan. They had expected only 5 people to be working in the kitchen. Instead, there are 30 to 40 chefs still actively preparing food because the party has not ended yet. At that very moment, they receive shocking news. The Chinese candidate has unexpectedly won the election. The entire atmosphere changes instantly. Since the party is still ongoing, the kitchen staff continues working non-stop, completely disrupting the robbers' plan. Later, when the manager opens the safe, Scalvo discovers that there is almost no money left inside. His expression immediately turns furious. One of the guards explains that they arrived too late because 2 truckloads of money had already been transported away the previous night. But Scalvo is not the type to give up easily. He hands the guard a large bag and orders him to fill it with everything that remains inside the safe. Even that is not enough to calm him down. Without even wearing a mask, Scalvo storms directly toward Mayor Mitchell's office. In his anger, however, he takes a wrong turn and accidentally enters a meeting room instead. Inside, Mitchell is discussing future plans with his associates after losing the election. At that moment, the defeated mayor is trying to figure out his next move, but Scalvo is in no mood to listen. He points his gun at everyone in the room and orders them to place all of their valuables into his bag. Terrified, the people inside begin removing their watches, jewelry, and other expensive belongings and dropping them into the bag. Meanwhile, a police chief standing in the room suddenly lifts his shirt and reveals the handgun attached to his waist, attempting to warn Scalvo. Seeing the situation escalating, Rory and Cabby try to convince Scalvo to back down before things get out of control. But Scalvo's anger has already reached its limit. He walks directly up to the police chief and stares him down. At that exact moment, a security guard bursts into the room and shouts that robbers have entered the building. Then everything explodes into chaos. Gunshots suddenly ring out. Within seconds, both the police chief and Scalvo are shot and collapse to the floor. At the same time, a bullet strikes Cabby in the shoulder. Everything happens so quickly that nobody has time to react, and panic spreads throughout the entire hotel. Realizing the operation has completely fallen apart, Rory and Cabby rush back toward the kitchen. There, they run into a member of the transport crew who has returned to collect the money. Without hesitation, Cabby points a gun at him and steals the keys to the vehicle. The two men quickly escape in the money truck and speed away from the hotel. As they drive down the road, Cabby notices a phone vibrating continuously beneath the windshield. The moment he sees it, he becomes suspicious that something is seriously wrong. He immediately tells Rory to fasten his seatbelt. Then, without warning, he sharply turns the truck. At that exact moment, something unexpected begins happening inside the rear compartment of the vehicle. A patrol car crashes directly into their vehicle, putting all of their lives in danger. However, at that exact moment, a large truck suddenly appears in front of them, creating enough confusion for Rory to escape. After getting away, the group hides inside a bar where Cabby had spent time before. Unfortunately, they do not remain hidden for long. Boston's most dangerous agent, Frank, soon arrives at the bar. Frank makes it clear that he only wants Mayor Mitchell's bracelet. He says that if he gets the bracelet, he will not cause any unnecessary trouble. After retrieving the bracelet, Frank turns to Dr. Rivera and advises her to stay out of the situation. He tells her that she should leave with him and avoid getting involved any further. Before leaving, Frank warns Rory and Cabby that the police are fully prepared outside. If you want to stay alive, don't do anything stupid, just sit tight. But the moment Frank walks out, Cabby once again opens a gas pipe and begins preparing to blow up the entire bar. He then ignites the setup, and a massive explosion erupts. Amid the chaos and destruction, Rory and Cabby manage to escape once again. While fleeing, Cabby boards a bus. There, he notices a funny picture being held by a nearby passenger. The image shows a businessman carrying 2 large bags of money. The picture suddenly triggers a realization. Cabby remembers the bracelet that Mitchell wanted back so desperately. Numbers had been engraved on it. He instantly understands why the bracelet was so important. Those numbers are most likely the combination to the safe inside Mitchell's office. Even better, Cabby has already memorized the sequence. Meanwhile, back at Mitchell's office, the safe proves so secure that even Boston's best locksmith cannot open it. Mitchell's private lawyer, Alan, is becoming increasingly nervous because extremely important items are locked inside. Then Frank arrives with the bracelet. The moment Alan sees it, he breathes a sigh of relief. At the same time, Rory and Cabby make their way to City Hall. A large crowd has gathered outside the building. They spot Frank's car parked nearby and notice protesters everywhere. People are shouting that Mitchell lost the election and should leave office immediately. Seeing all of this, Cabby becomes convinced that Mitchell will never leave without recovering whatever is hidden inside that safe. That leads him to propose one final robbery. His reasoning is simple. Nobody would ever expect them to return to the same place again. Soon afterward, Rory and Cabby disguise themselves as firefighters. Carrying a gasoline canister, they enter a subway station located directly beneath City Hall. Once inside, Cabby pours gasoline into the tunnel pipes and throws a lit match into them. The results are immediate. The entire building's fire alarm system activates. Water begins pouring from the ceiling. Within seconds, City Hall descends into complete chaos as guards rush to evacuate everyone. Even while leaving, Mitchell orders his lawyer Alan not to abandon the safe under any circumstances. Using the confusion to their advantage, Rory and Cabby successfully slip inside the building. Since they know very little about actual firefighting procedures, they initially head toward the elevators. However, after noticing real firefighters using the stairs instead, they quickly change direction. Unfortunately, the fire chief notices their suspicious behavior. He immediately becomes suspicious and starts shouting for them to stop. Rory and Cabby ignore him and continue running upstairs. The fire chief grabs an axe and chases after them. Eventually, the two men reach Mitchell's office, rush inside, and lock the door behind them. Moments later, the fire chief arrives and begins smashing the door with his axe. Each strike shakes the room. While this is happening, Rory notices that lawyer Alan is still inside the office. Thinking quickly, Rory shouts through the door and warns the fire chief that if he continues breaking in, he will throw the hostage out of the window. Hearing that, the fire chief immediately stops. The situation has suddenly become far more dangerous. Cabby is not happy about this development at all. He points out that their robbery has now turned into a kidnapping case. He reminds Rory that if they had been caught earlier, they would have faced only a few years in prison. But now they are trapped inside a federal building with a hostage. Both men are mentally exhausted and have no idea what to do next. Then Cabby notices the safe. Deciding to make one final attempt, he enters the number sequence he memorized from the bracelet. To his surprise, the safe opens. The moment the door swings open, both men are stunned. Inside is more money than either of them has ever seen in their lives. At that same moment, Alan's attitude changes completely. He immediately reaches into the safe and removes 2 hard drives. Alan explains that the drives contain evidence of 20 years of corruption and bribery. They include details of foreign bank accounts used to transfer dirty money. According to Alan, every illegal operation and secret transaction is documented on those drives. If the information ever becomes public, everything will collapse. Meanwhile, snipers outside begin taking positions. One of them lines up a shot on Rory, who is standing near the window. Fortunately, Cabby notices the danger just in time and shouts for Rory to move away. A second later, gunfire erupts from outside, and bullets begin tearing through the room. Elsewhere, Dr. Kreese. Rivera is watching the entire situation unfold on television. She immediately heads to City Hall and pleads with the police to let her inside. Rivera believes she may still be able to resolve the situation peacefully. After some time, she manages to meet Rory and Cabby again. She tries to convince them to end the standoff. Rivera tells Rory that she will secretly carry the full 32,408 inside a bulletproof vest and personally deliver the money to his son. For the first time, Rory sees a chance for his dream to come true. The amount he has been fighting for all along may finally reach his child. A sense of peace appears on his face for the first time in a long while. Believing that his purpose has finally been fulfilled, Rory decides that he is ready to surrender. But Rivera stops him. She warns that surrendering may get him killed. She explains that people like Mitchell and Bosguy will never allow him and Cabby to live safely after everything they now know. According to Rivera, if an opportunity appears, escape is their only real chance of survival. Shortly afterward, Rivera leaves the building with lawyer Alan so that the police believe negotiations are progressing. Then Rory and Cabby make a shocking move. They push the entire safe out of the window. The safe crashes onto the street below. When people see huge stacks of cash spilling out of it, everyone is stunned, but only for a few seconds. Then complete chaos erupts. The crowd suddenly breaks through the police barricades and rushes toward the money. People begin shoving, pushing, and fighting each other to grab as much cash as possible. Within moments, the entire area descends into absolute chaos. Taking advantage of the chaos outside, Rory and Cabby jump onto a fire truck and make their escape. However, they do not get very far. Before long, Frank catches up to them in his high-powered patrol car. He slams directly into their vehicle, causing both men to lose control and nearly crash. After stopping them, Frank pulls out his gun and prepares to arrest them on the spot. But at that exact moment, Cabby quickly takes out the 2 hard drives containing all of Mitchell's criminal records. He tells Frank that if he lets them go, those hard drives could help him climb much higher within the police department. Cabby explains that the drives contain evidence powerful enough to destroy some of the most influential people in the city. Unfortunately, Frank wants everything. He wants the hard drives, and he wants Rory and Cabby under arrest as well. In the end, both men are captured, and the hard drives eventually end up in the hands of the new mayor's lawyer. The lawyer informs the new mayor that the foreign bank accounts listed in the files contain nearly $100 million. He also explains that there is no legal way to prove where that money came from. According to the lawyer, if the government decides to prosecute Rory and Cabby, the hard drives will become official court evidence. Once that happens, the government will seize all of the money and transfer it into public funds. However, if no charges are filed against Rory and Cabby, the hard drives will never become legal evidence. That means the entire scandal can quietly disappear, allowing many powerful people to protect themselves. Eventually, a decision is made. Rory and Cabby are officially declared innocent. All charges against them are dropped, and they are completely cleared of wrongdoing. Some time later, Rory arrives at a hockey stadium. His son is playing on the ice. After years of separation, Rory finally gets the chance to see him again. He stands quietly at a distance, watching his son, and the happiness in his eyes is impossible to miss. For the first time in years, the greatest dream of his life has finally come true. A huge weight has been lifted from his shoulders. Rory then decides that he will leave his old life behind and start over. He promises himself that from now on, he will focus on building a better future with his son and never choose the wrong path again. With that hope in his heart, his life finally takes a new direction. And with that, the story comes to an end. And with that, the movie comes to an end. What did you think of Rory and Cabby's incredible journey? Did you enjoy the twists, action, and suspense from start to finish? Let us know in the comments by simply typing yes if you enjoyed the video. We'd love to hear about your experience. Also, let's set a target of 5,000 likes on this video. If you enjoyed the recap, make sure to hit the like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing movie recaps and story explanations. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next upload. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.